excuse me, on the left over here, we have individuals who are religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics, and this is the expression, RT-PCR, real-time PCR expression of the VMAT2 gene. So over here, we have individuals who are not particularly fundamentalist, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene, the VMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach.
Okay, check it out. The VMAT2 gene is a gene that they've isolated scientifically and medically in the brain that is activated and stimulated when someone gets excited about God or religion or their faith. They have isolated a part of the brain for those that hate God or disgusted by God. There's another part of the brain that gets inflamed or gets stimulated, and they've isolated these areas of our brains. That's what he's talking about in this chart.
By spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market and blowing up. By spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate.
Did you hear what they just said? By spreading this virus, they're going to be able to eliminate what they're calling fanatical religious behavior.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior. By vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior.
This is one reason why I don't get vaccines. If you're getting vaccines, you better pray that God gets you off of those vaccines. You don't need a vaccine for flu. You don't need a vaccine. You have God to protect you. If you are living holy and you're living righteous, you don't need to get a vaccine. God will protect you. But he just said there's a virus. They're going to put in vaccines that will eliminate the radical, fundamental religious behavior. Are you going to let them vaccine you? There's more. Check it out.
So we have some very, very remarkable data in this next slide. Here we have two brain scans. These are fMRIs. These are two different individuals with different levels of expression of VMAT2. On top is an individual who's a religious fanatic, an individual, and we've repeated this numerous times, that has high levels of VMAT2. Now, this individual down here who had low levels of the VMAT2 gene, this individual would self-describe as not particularly religious. In each case, these individuals were read a religious text. This individual lit up the right middle frontal gyrus, shown here, and that's a part of the brain that's associated with theory of mind. It's a part of the brain that has to do with intents and beliefs and desires. In marked contrast, here's an individual who would not particularly self-describe as religious, and when they're read a religious text, what you see is that this part of the brain called the anterior insula lights up. This is a part of the brain that's associated with disgust or displeasure on hearing something.
Okay, what we're seeing is two maps of the brain. This first map of the brain is someone who gets excited when they hear about God or faith. You can see the little orangey color right up here in this part of the brain. This is where the gene is located that they're referring to, the one they want to send a virus in and destroy. Now, this part of the brain is stimulated when somebody is disgusted about religious ideas or faith in God. They actually light up in a different part of the brain. They've isolated the parts of the brain where one person is actually stimulated by the idea of faith, God, and religion, and the other part of the brain that's disgusted by the same notions.
So the data that I'm presenting here supports the the concept that we're proposing. The virus would immunize against this VMAT2 gene. The virus would immunize against this VMAT2 gene, and that would have the effect that you see here, which is it's essentially to turn a fanatic